So in this lecture, we're going to cover how to create curtain walls, how to create the mullion system for the curtain walls, and then also how to convert some of the glass panels into solid panels and how to create the door system for a curtain wall. Okay. If you're not familiar with the term curtain wall, it's essentially one very big glass wall. So think of like a skyscraper. Um, it's all glass on the outside. That's kind of a glass wall. So that's kind of what we're going to be covering, but we're going to be using kind of a residential. We're using it in kind of a residential application. So think of like a two-story all glass wall treatment. Okay. So I'm going to start off by just creating a general wall. So I'm going to the wall and we're going to scroll up, exterior wood siding. That's kind of been my default one. And we're going to go from the first floor up to level. Okay. Now, obviously, you're going to have your own building design. So I'm just kind of drawing one wall as if this is the wall that you're going to add the curtain wall system to. So I'm going to change this to shaded. I'm going to change the detail level and set that to fine. Okay. I'm going to quickly just take a look at it in my elevation, make sure that it's going up to the correct levels. And then we'll go back to the first floor. Now it's good for you to have an idea of where you're going to start and where you're going to finish. So if you need any markers, remember you could always use the reference plane. So I could place a reference plane here and place a reference plane, I don't know, somewhere over here. I click on one and say, you know what, this really needs to be 15 feet. And so you're just going to want to map out where the start and finish of your curtain wall is going to be. Okay. Once you have that in place, I'm going to click on wall, click on my properties, and you'll notice if we scroll all the way down, we do have an option for curtain wall. So I'm going to click on the curtain wall and I'm going to set the base constraint to first floor, and I'm going to take this all the way up to the level roof. Now you can take this up however high you want to. There really is no limit. What this is going to do is create one really big kind of window. Okay. Now what I want to do is I'm going to place this right at the center of my wall. So I'll click here. Now you'll notice that even though I clicked on the center, you'll notice that the rectangle, which is going to be that glass, is kind of offset about an inch. And that's normal. That's how it should be. Okay. That's because we typically windows and the glass has to be kind of pushed out further to the outside of the exterior wall. You don't want it exactly centered. So we're going to go ahead and come all the way over here to the other side. And we're going to place it right there. Now we are going to get a warning. And it's saying that, well, your curtain wall is overlapping an existing wall, which is what we want. So we're just going to go ahead and hit the X there. Okay, I'll hit the escape key twice just to kind of get out. And now you'll see that I have the glass curtain wall and then the wall. And they're both kind of overlapping. So we need to cut this wall out. And what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and click on the curtain wall. And on the Modify tab, under the Geometry panel, we have this option that says Cut. Okay, we're going to click on Cut, which is short for Cut Geometry. And I'm going to select the curtain wall first, and then I'll select the wall second. And it says one element is completely inside another. Hit OK. Oh, I did that wrong. I apologize. Undo. Let's do that one more time. Let's go ahead and click on the curtain wall. We'll hit cut. So we have to select the exterior wall first. So the object that we want to cut. And then next we'll select the actual glass. And there we go. That's what we want. Okay. I'll hit the escape key twice to get out. At this point, I could go ahead and delete my reference planes. And now I have my curtain wall. let's go to the north elevation. Actually, let's go ahead and just go to 3D view so we can see what this actually looks like. Let's add some colors here. Detail level to fine. And so this is the exterior side. And now you can see we have one big piece of glass. So when I go to my north elevation, we want to go to the elevation that, let's go over here. We want to go to the elevation that is showing the exterior side of the glass, okay? Because the next step is going to be to add the window mullions and the frames. And we could add that to the interior side, but it can get kind of tricky because typically you're going to have other walls and things on the interior side. So we want to jump to the elevation that where we see the curtain glass too. So that's this elevation, which is my north elevation. Okay. And I'm going to change the detail level to shaded, and we'll set the detail level to fine. Okay. Now at this point, this is the time where you can change the shape of the glass. Okay, so maybe you don't want just a straight rectangle. Maybe you want maybe a 45 cut. So we're going to edit the profile. Now it's going to be the same process as editing the profile of any general wall. So we'll use our draw tools. You'll see that we're in sketch mode, and I can specify, I'm just going to eyeball it at this point. Maybe go 4 feet up, and we'll go 45. You know what? I don't like that. Let's be a little bit more dramatic. Let's go from the floor all the way up, just like that. Now, since we are in sketch mode, we have the boundary lines. At this point, we should know the rules with the in sketch mode when it comes to the boundary lines. Remember that it has to be one continuous profile or one continuous set of lines. You cannot have intersections and you cannot have overlapping lines, so lines on top of one another. So here we have these intersections and it's not continuous. So we need to use our trim extents tool, or the letter TR, and we're going to click on the portion of the lines that we want to keep. There to there. There we have it. Right? So now it's one continuous line all the way around. And now I'll hit the check mark. Okay. And so now I have a curtain wall that has an angle. So once you have the shape of the glass that you want, the next step is going to be to add the mullions. Okay. The mullions is the frames. Obviously, I mean, we technically can, if you really wanted to, build one very big piece of glass, but that would be extremely expensive. Yeah, almost impossible. So we need to break that up. Now, before we add the mullions, we actually have to create a curtain grid. Okay, we create the curtain grid first, and then we apply the mullions to the curtain grid. Okay. Now the thing is, you can't, once the mullions are applied, it's very difficult to change the curtain grid. Okay. So you want to make sure to have the curtain grid exactly the way you want it before you go in and you add the mullions. So let's go ahead and play around with the curtain grid. So I clicked on the curtain grid, and what you see is this dashed lines. That signifies the placement of the actual curtain grids. Okay, so I'll say maybe I'm going to want a line there, one there. And if you move your cursor to the edge of the glass, okay, you get that dashed line. So maybe we want another one over here, place another one here. We'll definitely place one right at the level line, and maybe we place another one here. Okay, and maybe we have another one right there. Now, when I place these, you'll notice that I didn't specify dimension. I just kind of place them. And so when I place them, I'm really just kind of looking for a design. So saying, okay, I'm going to want lines or the curtains, this curtain grid structure to kind of look like this, right? Once I have the general design, then I'll go in and I will adjust some of these lines. So for example, maybe this line, I want it to be just 18 inches off the ground. So I'll specify that, right? Maybe this line here, I want it to be 7 feet from the ground. Okay. Now, this is the floor line. That's our level line. Okay, so that's where the new floor begins. So you typically want a mullion right at that line. Okay, because you're transitioning from one floor to the next. But let's say, maybe I want to add another one. So let's go ahead and add remove segments. And what happened here? Huh, okay, let's just go ahead and go back to curtain grid, and we'll go ahead and add another one just like that. Okay. So, and this one, we'll go ahead and place this one. This one's right at the center. I don't like the fact that it's right at the center. Maybe we'll just go 1 foot above. I don't know, something like that. Okay. This one I'll keep because I like that they intersect or that they join right at this point. And then maybe this one here, what I'll do is we need to add a door. We're going to want to add a door at some point soon. So maybe what I'll do is I'll say the door is over here on this side, or I'll go ahead and start planning for the door to be right in this area. Okay. So this one, I believe I put at 7 feet. Yeah. So door typically could be 7 feet, 6 feet, 8, 7 feet, sometimes 8 feet, depending on the type of door. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that at 7 feet, but the width here should probably be set to 3 feet. So let's go ahead and change this to 3 feet. Now I don't want to change this distance, right? Because again, it's lining up right here in this corner. And if I move this, now you see that we end up having this really awkward piece of glass right inside there. So let's Control Z. So that's why I like the fact that these two lines intersect right at the angle. So we don't end up having some small weird triangle there. So that means I want to center this one in between these two. And the way we do that is using our dimension tool. And we're just going to create a quick dimension between these two lines. And then I'll hit the EQ button, and that equalizes. That sets an equal distance between these two other lines. Once I have the dimension, I could select it and just hit the delete key. We do get a warning saying that by removing the EQ dimension constraint, this line is no longer constraint, which is fine. Just hit OK. Okay. And maybe that's it. Okay. The problem, though, is if I set this is going to be my door, this is going to be a mullion, and I can't have a mullion running through my door. So I need to remove this segment. So the way we remove segments, if we wanted to remove segments, is you click on the line and we select this Add Remove Segments. Now it didn't work last time. Let's go ahead and click. Oh, it was that simple. Okay, it used to have an additional button over here. So let's do that again with this line. We select it. We select the line. We click Add Remove Segments. And then we click on the portion of the line we no longer want. So I'll go ahead and click right there. And then I'll hit the escape key just to get out. Okay. And so that's how we go ahead and we remove certain segments. So at this point, we could say, okay, this is what our grid system is going to look like. Okay. And that's what we want. So now that we have the grid system, now we could go ahead and create the mullions. But just as I mentioned before, you have to be certain and sure that this is the grid system that you want, because once we convert this into mullions, it becomes very difficult and challenging to make any changes and edits to the point where you're probably better off deleting everything and starting over. Okay. So if you don't want to do that, you can, if you don't want to do that, just make sure that you don't add the mullions. If you're not sure, you could leave grid system as is, save the file and keep working and come back to it sometime in the future. Okay, that's typically kind of what I end up doing down the line. So let's say we are ready. This is what we want. I'm going to go ahead and click on Mullion. And we have all grid lines. Okay, if we wanted to just add a mullion to one grid line, we could go ahead and select either grid line, or if we want to add a mullion just to a segment, we could do that. But in this case, we want to add it everywhere. So all I'm going to do is hit all grid lines, and then I'll click on the glass and where the grid lines are highlighted. Okay, before we do that, just make sure that that's the property or the type of mullion you want. So you have V mullion, trapezoids, quads, L mullion, circular mullions. These are just different shapes of the window frame or the mullion system. So you could always, you could experiment. You could try one, see which one you like, or you could Google the names, of each one of these so that you get an image of what that mullion looks like. But I'm going to stick to just a rectangular mullion. Okay. And we'll go ahead and click on the mullions, and there we have it. Okay, I'll hit the escape key twice to get out. And there is our current system. Let's go to 3D view. And that's what this looks like. Okay. Now I talked about the door. So let's go ahead and add that in. Now, in order to have a door, what we're going to do is we're going to convert this glass piece into a door. Okay. However, that means that we can't have a mullion at the base, okay, because mullions are fixed, they don't move. So what I can do is select that mullion, okay, zoom in if you have to, but click on it and then hit the delete key on the keyboard. Okay. Now the next thing is that we actually have to load a curtain door in. Okay. Now we've talked about doors in the past and creating door or adding door families. But with the curtain door, it's a slightly different process. We're going to go into the Insert tab, and we're going to go into Load Family. So instead of going into the Door command, we're going to go into the Insert tab, Load Family. And then you're going to go into the Door folder. And it's typically right here, Curtain Wall. So we have Curtain Wall Double Glass. So if I had two panels that were exactly the same, we could do that. Storefront, but I'm going to select Single Glass. Okay, I'll hit Open. Now, it doesn't look like anything happened because none of my settings have changed. However, if I come over here and I move my cursor along the edge, either one of these four edges of the glass, just place your cursor on that edge and then hit the tab key on the keyboard, and it's going to toggle through the different selections until you get to the actual glass. So it's right there. So once you get to the glass, click on it. And now I could select, now the glass panel is selected. And now we have the properties over here on the left. So I'll click on this pull down. And under curtain wall, we now have the option for door curtain wall single glass. Okay. So now I'll go ahead and click here. And that converts it into a door. Okay. But let's say we want it swinging in the other direction. Then we can go to the first floor plan. And I can flip it. Okay, and I could flip it to the other side as well if I wanted to swing inward. And now we have that door right there. Okay, now the other option that we do have is to convert some of the glass panels into solid opaque panels. This becomes useful and becomes really common, maybe in like storefronts, or if you want to hide something on the backside of this. So if you wanted to have a kitchen cabinet on the backside, or if on the backside you were going to add a sofa, or sometimes we will add it up at the top layer here, because typically you don't want to see what's happening between the ceiling and the finished floor, right? That's typically where we add all of our mechanical, electrical, insulation. It's kind of not pretty. So we'll add kind of a solid panel up at the top to hide all of that stuff so no one could actually see it. So if we want to add solid panels, it's going to be the same process, similar process in the sense of selecting the glass panel. So I'm going to move the cursor to the edge, hit the tab key on the keyboard until I finally click or until the glass panel is selected. And then I click on it, and click on the panel properties over here. And then all the way at the bottom, we have system panel and it's set to glazed. We'll go ahead and just change that to solid. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing for I'm just going to do this whole row. Click on that, down there. Do this one more time, move the cursor or hit the tab key, select the panel, click on the property, scroll all the way down to system panels solid. And there we have that. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So now we have curtain wall system, okay, with a swinging door and some of the panels as solid panels so that you don't see through them. Okay, so it's pretty quick and simple. So hopefully this helps for those who want to do a glass curtain wall system. Okay.